Welcome back everybody to my channel. Today we're going to talk about an HOA Karen who went ahead and removed my ranch gate without any permission from me. She actually cut it down and destroyed it. And what she did not realize is that my bison herd would now have access to her property, which they eventually found. And you're gonna see what happened next. It was absolutely priceless. Now, if you've never seen a bison bull charge before, let me tell you, these things are 2,000 pounds of muscle, and they can charge up to 35 miles per hour. They can jump 6 feet in the air, and they can easily reach 4 to 5 foot high fences, just like that. So when a bison bull charges something, most of the time it's not very pretty for whatever or whoever is in the way. So there were 2 gates at the entrance of my property. One of them was a big iron pipe gate that swung open and closed with a lock on it. And then beside that gate was a smaller gate that had a lock on it. Now this gate was about 3 or 4 foot tall. It was more than tall enough for me and my family to walk through. But if a bison was to run through that gate, it would be like a bowling ball going through a little baby gate. It wasn't going to happen. Well, there was an HOA Karen who lived across the street from us. She had a very small horse named Buttercup, and she wanted to ride her small horse through our driveway to get to a trailhead that was at the dead end of our road. Well, she knocked on my door one day and asked if she could take her horse through my driveway. I told her no. I said, "You can go ahead and put your horse on the trailer and drive it down the road and park it over there by the trailhead. There's plenty of room." She started complaining about how hard it was to do that. And I basically told her, "Lady, if you don't want to do it that way, then too bad. You can't come through here because my animals could escape and it would be a liability for me." Then she left. And that was the end of that. Well, I didn't see her again for about a week or so. But then she shows up one day and starts knocking on my door and ringing my doorbell. I finally came to the door and she said, "That gate you have there, it's against the rules. You have to remove it." I said, "What are you talking about? Why would I have to remove my gate?" She said, "Because it's against the rules. The rules say that there cannot be any barriers that are over 3 feet tall." I said, "Well, that fence isn't over 3 feet tall. That's a horse fence. That's not even meant to keep horses in. That keeps my bison from getting out onto the road." She said, "I don't care what it has to come down." And I thought, this lady is nuts. This is insane. Why would she be trying to dictate what I do on my own private property? Well, anyway, she kept bothering me about taking that fence down. So eventually, I just gave in, and I cut the chains off and opened the gate for her so she could drive her little horse through. Then she took her horse through, and then she left. Well, I didn't think anything else of it. I figured she'd be happy now that she could drive her horse through my driveway. Well, a couple days later, I was sitting outside by the fire pit and I saw her little horse Buttercup standing in the middle of my driveway, eating all my rock salt that I had used to melt the ice in front of my driveway. So I grabbed a stick and shooed the horse away. Then I went inside and got my boots on and went out and started filling up my wheelbarrow with all the manure that the horse had left behind. I even found some old manure from previous times that she'd been in there. So I filled up my wheelbarrow, took it over by the fence and threw it all over her side of the fence. Then I went back to get another load, and I looked over and I saw this big gash in the middle of the fence. I looked over and I saw my cow in the middle of her yard, eating her flowers and destroying her mailbox. Then I heard this loud crash, and I looked over and I saw my bull had busted through the remaining part of the fence, and he was standing in the middle of her yard looking at her flower bed. I started freaking out. I started yelling and making tons of noise. And my cow and my bull, they both took off and ran back to my property. Then I started running over to the neighbor's house. When I got there, I knocked on her door. No answer. I knocked again, louder this time, and still no answer. So I walked around the backyard, which was full of manure and destruction. And I went to the other side of the house and started pounding on her window. Finally, she answered the window and she's looking at me all scared. And I'm yelling, "Your gate, you idiot! Your gate is down and my cows are loose." She said, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." She grabbed some stuff and ran out the back door. Then I went out the front door and started looking for my cows. I found one of them in the ditch by the road. Another one was in somebody's front yard, but it hadn't done anything. It hadn't gotten into any trouble. Then I went back home, and sure enough, my bull had gotten back into my property somehow, but he was missing a big chunk out of his leg. He had gotten caught in some barbed wire fence that was laying on the ground. Thankfully, I was able to get him free, and I cleaned his wound up, and he ended up being okay. But that HOA Karen, she called animal control, and animal control came out, and they said, "We're not going to do anything. It's not our job to catch your cows. You need to call a private company." So I called a private company, and they came out and caught all my cows and brought them back to my property. Then I called that HOA Karen, and I told her, "Hey, everything's fine now. All my cows are back. You don't have to worry about it anymore." And she said, "Good, because I'm calling the cops on you. You destroyed my yard and my mailbox and my flowers and my rock garden. You destroyed my property." I said, "You destroyed my gate, and you didn't even apologize for that. And I'm supposed to be the bad guy here. And you called the cops on me. Oh yeah, wait till my lawyer gets a hold of you." Then she hung up on me. So I guess she actually did call the cops on me, but nothing ever came of it. She tried to sue me for the damage that she said I caused to her property, but I won that case, and she had to pay all my court costs. Also, after that, every time that I saw her, she acted like I was some kind of monster, like she couldn't even look me in the eyes. Now, the reason that she kept bothering me about that fence is because there was a riding trail that ran along the backside of our properties, and she wanted to be able to ride her horse right up to that trail. But I had put up that fence to keep my cows from getting out onto the road, and that fence was there long before she bought her little horse. So I had every right to have that fence up, and I shouldn't have to accommodate her and her stupid little horse. And to top it all off, she even complained about me having bison. She said that I should only have cattle or horses because bison are dangerous. Well, I told her, "Lady, I have a permit to have these bison. I've had them since before you even lived on this street. You should have known that I had them when you bought your house. If you don't want to live by bison, maybe you should have picked a different neighborhood." Yes, so that's the story of the HOA Karen who tried to destroy my property and ruin my life because I wouldn't let her ride her horse through my driveway. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit that like button and consider subscribing. Thank y'all for watching, and we'll see y'all next time.